The wine glass slipped from her fingers before the words even finished leaving her mouth. It didn't shatter when it hit the floor. It burst, a sharp, explosive crack that cut through the soft restaurant music and sent every head turning toward our table. And still, the only sound I really heard was her voice. "I'm leaving you." 3 words. Softly spoken. Calm. Almost polite. But they punched through my chest with the force of a car crash. I felt the air leave my lungs, felt my pulse climb into my throat, felt the edges of the room blur as if the world suddenly couldn't decide whether to stay real or let me fall out of it. My wife, sat across from me at a candlelit table in the restaurant where we'd celebrated anniversaries, promotions, her father's recovery, every major milestone. She wore the navy blue dress I'd always loved on her. Her hands trembled slightly, but her face was composed. Hollow. Resigned. I stared at her. "Emily," I said, my voice nothing but gravel, "say that again." She swallowed. Looked down at the broken glass scattered at her feet. Then up at me, her jaw tightening. "You heard me, Michael." A quiet pause. "I'm leaving you." My stomach dropped as if the floor had just disappeared. For a moment, no words came. Something hot climbed the back of my throat. Panic, disbelief, humiliation, grief all tangled together. The candle between us flickered, making the shadows on her face pulse like a heartbeat. There had been little signs over the past 3 months. Signs I had ignored. Late work nights. Guarded phone screens. That strange emotional distance, like she was only half present even when she was right beside me. But this was a cliff I never imagined she'd push us over. I leaned forward, keeping my voice low, tight, controlled. "Emily, what's going on? Are you upset about something I did? Did something happen at work? We can talk. We can." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "This isn't sudden, Michael," she whispered. "I've been trying to tell you for weeks." "No," I said immediately, shaking my head, heat filling my chest. "No, you didn't try, you pulled away. That's not the same thing." Her eyes flashed, wounded for a moment, then cold again. "Please don't make this harder than it already is." I laughed. A broken, bitter sound. "I'm not making anything harder. You just dumped a grenade in my lap." "Michael." "Emily, are you seeing someone?" Her breath hitched, so subtle most people wouldn't have caught it. But I did. She didn't answer. The restaurant suddenly felt too crowded, too loud, too bright. Silverware clinked. Someone laughed across the room. A waiter walked by with a tray of steak plates, the smell of buttery garlic suddenly nauseating. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Tell me the truth," I said quietly. She closed her eyes. "This isn't the place." "Then why here?" My voice shook. "Why did you choose this restaurant? Our restaurant? Why tonight? Why not at home, after dinner, in private, like a decent human being?" Her jaw tightened. "I couldn't do it at home. You would have tried to fix it, and I can't," she shook her head. "I can't keep pretending. I'm exhausted." Exhausted. The word sliced through me. She wasn't exhausted from us. She was exhausted from hiding. Before I could speak, she looked past me, and her entire expression changed. It drained. Completely. Her cheeks went pale, eyes wide, body suddenly rigid. She looked like she had seen a ghost step into the room. Her gaze locked on someone behind me. I turned slowly, and the moment I saw who was walking toward our table, the world went silent. Not quiet. Silent. It was her boss, Daniel Whitmore. A tall, sharp-featured man with the kind of smile that always looked more like a strategy than an emotion. Polished suit. Confident stride. Eyes too warm for someone who barely knew me. Except, he did know me. We'd met at 2 company parties. Emily introduced him casually both times. But looking at them now, her drained face, his approaching steps, I knew there was nothing casual about him. He didn't wave. He didn't look surprised. He walked straight toward our table, toward her, like a man approaching something that already belonged to him. And Emily. She looked like she wanted to disappear. "Emily," I whispered, feeling my hands go cold. Why is he here? Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. Michael, please, don't react. Not here. My voice came out low, sharp, shaking with a fury I barely recognized as my own. Is he the reason you're leaving me? She flinched. That told me everything. Daniel reached the table just as the last thread of calm snapped inside me. Evening, he said smoothly. Emily, I thought you might already be here. Emily's eyes stayed glued to the tablecloth. He knew she'd be here. He expected her. He looked at me finally, offering a hand I didn't take. Michael. Good to see you again. I stared at him. My pulse roared in my ears. Then I noticed something small but unmistakable. A hotel room keycard in his hand. My stomach turned to ice. Emily's breath shuddered out of her. Daniel, please, go. Not now. His brows lifted slightly, then his gaze shifted to me, measuring, calculating. Does he know? I felt something inside my chest tear open. Emily whispered, stop. But I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at him. You've been sleeping with my wife. Not a question. A truth. Daniel didn't answer. He didn't need to. And Emily. Her eyes filled with tears. The restaurant kept moving, unaware that my entire world had just been knocked off its axis. I pushed my chair back slowly, deliberately, every muscle trembling. I'm not doing this here, I said. We're leaving. Emily looked panicked. Michael, wait. Daniel stepped closer. She doesn't need to leave. I snapped. Stay out of this, I hissed. For the first time, Daniel's expression shifted, less confident, more defensive. But Emily reached toward me across the table. Michael, please, she whispered. Just, let me explain. Explain. My voice cracked. You already did. I stood. My legs felt weak, but rage held me upright. Emily rose too, her hands shaking violently. But before either of us could move, a familiar voice cut through the tension behind me. A voice that didn't belong here. A voice that made Emily's face collapse completely. Emily. We both turned. And that's when everything I thought I knew about this betrayal twisted into something far more complicated. Because standing at the entrance, pale and stunned, was my younger sister, Sarah. Holding a baby that looked unmistakably like Daniel. Emily choked on a breath. Daniel's face drained. My own chest turned hollow and hot all at once. Sarah whispered, voice breaking. Emily. I'm sorry. I didn't know you'd be here. The room spun. 3 betrayals. One night. All exploding in front of me at the same table where I thought I'd be having dinner with my wife. And none of it, absolutely none of it, was what it seemed. For a moment, no one moved. The clatter of dishes, the murmur of conversations, the soft jazz playing overhead, all of it warped into a muffled, distant hum. My body felt weightless, as if shock had peeled me out of myself. I stared at my sister, at the baby in her arms, at the man standing beside me, at my wife whose face had gone utterly bloodless. Then the baby whimpered. A small, innocent sound, yet it splintered the silence like a scream. I took one step back from the table, from Emily, from Daniel, from this strange nightmare unfolding in front of me. It was Daniel who spoke first. Sarah, he whispered, not with affection, but with shock laced in panic. My sister clutched the baby tighter, her fingers trembling around the small blanket. Her eyes were glossy, filled with a terror I didn't understand, not yet. Michael, she said softly, I need to talk to you. Please. But her voice didn't reach me. All I could see was the baby. The baby with Daniel's sharp cheekbones. Daniel's dark eyes. Daniel's exact mouth. My stomach twisted. My wife had just told me she was leaving me. And my sister was holding my wife's lover's child. A child who looked at me with eyes too young to understand the chaos erupting around him. I turned to Emily. What the hell is going on? Emily's lips parted, but no sound came. Her eyes darted between Sarah and Daniel as tears streamed down her cheeks. I didn't know, she whispered. I swear to God, Michael, I didn't know anything about this. Daniel swallowed hard, rubbing his thumb over the keycard in his hand. Sarah, he said again, voice low, why are you here? My sister looked away, ashamed. I needed to tell him. I couldn't hide it anymore. Her voice wavered. Then she turned to me, tears slipping down her face. Michael, we didn't mean for any of this to happen. I blinked. We? A cold dread spread through my chest. What do you mean we? She nodded, breaking apart right in front of me. Daniel and I, we. Don't, Daniel snapped, too quickly, too sharply. My eyes snapped to him. Emily's head jerked up. Sarah froze. Something about the reaction set off a flare of understanding in my mind. Daniel wasn't protecting Sarah. He was protecting himself. From something bigger. Something worse. Sarah wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. No. I'm done being quiet. I can't keep carrying this alone. Emily gasped. Sarah, what are you talking about? My sister took a deep breath, steadying the crying baby against her shoulder. It wasn't an affair, she said. My skin prickled. Then what? I whispered. She looked at Daniel with disgust. Pure, burning disgust. He promised he would help me. Daniel stiffened. Emily covered her mouth. I felt the floor shift beneath me. He promised he'd help me with the bills, Sarah whispered. With Mom's treatments. With the surgery. I was drowning, Michael. You were dealing with Dad's estate. I didn't want to burden you. And Daniel. Daniel offered help. Her voice cracked. But there were conditions. Emily whispered, oh my God. I stared at Daniel. His jaw was tight. Too tight. He spoke, voice low with controlled anger. She's twisting it. Sarah shook her head. No, I'm not. You said you'd cover the hospital costs if I. Her voice failed. I felt my own breath stop. Sarah, I said slowly, what did he make you do? She squeezed her eyes shut. Tears slid down her cheeks as she whispered. You know what he made me do. Emily let out a sound like a muffled scream. The room spun again, harder this time. Daniel stepped forward. Stop it. Just stop. You agreed. You. My fist moved before I even realized it. The punch connected with Daniel's jaw in a violent, satisfying crack that echoed through the restaurant. Gasps rippled across the room. Chairs scraped. A waiter dropped a tray. Daniel staggered back into another table, gripping his jaw, eyes furious. Emily grabbed my arm. Michael, stop. But she was crying too, crying harder than I'd ever seen. Sarah turned away, shielding the baby. Daniel recovered quickly. Too quickly. You want the truth, he snarled, wiping blood from his lip. Fine. Let's give it to him. He pointed at Emily. She wasn't leaving you for me. She was leaving you for herself. I don't want her. The words stabbed. Emily flinched as if slapped. He pointed at Sarah next. And she wasn't in love with me either. She needed money. That was it. Sarah whispered, you used me. Daniel snapped back, you let yourself be used. I saw red. Emily stepped between us before I could hit him again. Michael, she said in a trembling voice. Listen to me. I didn't cheat on you with him. I swear. I didn't even know Sarah was involved with him. Then why were you leaving me? I whispered. Her entire body sagged. And then she finally told the truth. Because I thought I was pregnant. My heart dropped. She wiped her tears shakily. And I thought it wasn't yours. The pain hit like a tidal wave. Hot. Crushing. Unbearable. I stumbled back a step, as if I'd been physically shoved. Emily reached for me. Michael. I pulled my hand away. Is it his? I asked, voice barely audible. Her eyes widened. No. God, no. I thought it was someone else's. Who? I demanded. She hesitated. My entire spine turned to ice. Emily, who? She whispered. Someone from before we were married. My stomach churned. I didn't cheat, Michael. I swear on everything. But I lied. I lied about him. I lied to myself. I thought maybe the past wasn't as buried as I pretended. When I thought I was pregnant, I panicked. I convinced myself it couldn't be yours. I convinced myself I had trapped you in a lie. A shaky breath left her. And when the test came back negative, I realized how badly I'd broken everything in my head. How lost I felt. How guilty. I wasn't leaving you for anyone else. I was leaving because I thought you deserved better than someone as emotionally messed up as me. I stared at her. At the pain in her eyes. At the raw shame. At the truth I never expected. Before I could speak, Sarah stepped closer, clutching the baby. Michael, she whispered tearfully. I'm so sorry. I didn't know Emily was involved with him at work. I didn't know he'd twist everything. The baby, he isn't safe around Daniel. I need help. Her voice broke. Daniel's expression hardened. Don't start this. You weren't forced. Sarah flinched. I was desperate. And I kept my end of the deal. No, she whispered. You didn't. You left me the moment I told you I was pregnant. Daniel's silence was colder than any denial. The restaurant staff approached. Sir, we need you to leave. They were talking to Daniel. He scoffed, glared at all of us, and walked out, straightening his suit jacket, jaw set like a man who believed he'd done nothing wrong. When he was gone, the tension loosened, but the damage remained, a wreckage of confession, heartbreak, and misunderstanding spread on the floor between us. Emily sat down in the chair behind her, sobbing quietly. Sarah looked at the baby, whispering apologies that weren't meant for anyone but the child she held. And I finally breathed. A long, shaky, agonizing breath. My world hadn't just shattered. It had cracked open to reveal pieces I hadn't known existed. Hidden truths, buried fears, secret struggles, tangled mistakes. None of it excused what happened. But none of it was simple betrayal either. It was something messier. More human. More tragic. I knelt in front of Emily. She looked up at me, terrified. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know what this means for us. I don't know how to fix any of this. Her chin trembled. I'll do anything. Therapy. Space. Honesty. Whatever it takes. I love you. I never stopped. My chest tightened. I turned to Sarah. We're taking you and the baby home, I said. You're not dealing with this alone anymore. She broke down sobbing. I stood slowly, feeling both heavier and lighter, wounded, confused, angry, protective, heartbroken, but no longer blind. Emily rose too, hesitating before touching my arm gently, uncertainly. And this time, I didn't pull away. We'll face it, I said quietly. All of it. But not tonight. She nodded through tears. Together, we stepped past the shattered glass on the floor and walked out of the restaurant, not as the same people who walked in, but as broken, flawed human beings trying desperately to salvage what still mattered. And somewhere in the mess, in the hurt, in the rawness of it all, there was a fragile, painful glimmer of something that might one day become healing. Or closure. Or maybe, something entirely new.